Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Hightop Sports. This is the Monday mashup, and if you're concerned of whether or not you can trust the information you're going to get today, anytime you got a guy that's wearing two kangaroos, crushing bush latte on a shirt, you know it's going to be a great show. So sit back, relax, smash the like button, and subscribe. We're going to talk about the reliable, the rebound team that you like that, the peeled off, and of course the game of the week, which could have been almost every game this week because they were flipping tastic. Let's get into the co-host of the evening, Cody, aka the Professor. Did you open? Did you open another one?
I'm running out of beers. We gotta get this take right.
Derek the Ducks over in Cowboy Tie as FSU team gets rolling here, boys and girls. We had to do a quick little pre-HR meeting for Cody, and clearly that I went out the window within the first 10 seconds. It's unbelievable. It's supposed to be a PG show. We're like the 9:30 slot on ESPN, and we are just blowing it. We are not going to be welcome back next year. We are not going to re-sign our contract. This thing is going to be in complete shambles. Good to see you, boys. What about a great weekend of football, huh, Derek?
It was, anytime I don't have to wake up Saturday morning instantly stressing, it's great. I love and I hate the bye week, to be completely honest. Because I know you boys at some points were sweating throughout your games. Ty, you struggling with Cal, the perennial powerhouse that are the Golden Bears. Sheldon, I don't know what you're laughing at, my boy. You taking care of a Mississippi State team who got blown out by Toledo? What is that? Like
Easy.
the bottom dwellers
Easy.
of the MAC?
Easy.
Catching strays. We're 30 seconds in. We're catching strays.
We had the dub. Don't be coming in here because you had a bye this week, okay? We had a bye this week, so be careful. I know. What are you guys playing? The Texas Tech University again? I mean, what are we doing? Texas Tech University High? It's probably a Cape Cupcake. No, you go UCLA. You UCLA,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. They were good like 50 years ago or something, so yeah.
All right, boys.
I hope they don't put the CFP in Idaho.
Hey. We're done with that state. We're done.
Got him out of the way early, boys. Well, let's talk about reliable, the real team out west. I mean, Kyle Whittingham gets it done again. The Utah Utes, man, they just do it quietly. They don't raise any red flags. Nobody knows what's going on. Cam Rising starting. He's not starting. He doesn't play. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if the guy is going to play this year. The guy has been playing on injuries. He's going into his 8th year. It's unbelievable with Cam Rising been able to do it at Utah. They absolutely handled Oklahoma State. Don't look at the scoreboard and think like this was close because it wasn't. It was 22-3. I think going into the late 3rd or even the 4th, Oklahoma State got some things going. They absolutely shut down Mr. Ollie Gordon back there. I think 42 total yards in the backfield. And Utah is just doing what Utah does. Kansas State University, we'll talk about them later on. They go down. Utah, right now, in my opinion, it's their Big 12 to lose. They're in a really sweet spot. Utah has always been kind of handling the Pac-12 because nobody's really been good in the Pac-12 for the last couple of years. And now they go to the Big 12 and really look like they're going to be the big brother for quite some time. Derek, your thoughts on reliable and Kyle Whittingham?
Yeah, well, my first thoughts, obviously, I'm just happy we're not in the same conference as these guys anymore because they are the perennial team out west. That's just facts. Kyle's been shoving Dan in the locker for years on the recruiting trail now. But no, Utah is kind of the definition of like that old reliable team. It seems like their wins are never really like that super sexy win where they're putting up, 70 some points and got a super dominant defense. They're just a very fundamentally sound team on all sides of the ball. Like I said, the true definition of old reliable. And I think they're kind of in the driver's seat in that Big 12. I don't really know at this point who else I've watched that I look at and I'm like, okay, they could really push for it. We kind of talked about Kansas State. We'll get into that one a little bit more, but they obviously looked awful. So I don't know. I really think the Big 12 is Utah's to lose as well.
Ty, thoughts?
Yeah, I watched that game, and I'll tell you, they need Cam Rising. Michael Bernard did very well, but Wilson was just not the guy. Cam Rising's in his 10th year. He might be older than Chris Winkie by now. I'm not real sure. He's out there. I don't know if he's trying to become a doctor at Utah or he's going to play a football game anytime soon, but they could really use him. But moving on to the game, I mean, their defense is very, very tough. I do think that team is going to eventually come out of the Big 12, and I do think they're going to get one of those 4 slots in the playoff, and that could be very interesting because I don't know what the Ducks going to do. What if the Duck has to go play Utah? Then what do you do?
Utah. Look, I think you got a good point with that. They do need Cam Rising to take them to that next level. They're able to get by with the pieces they have there, which not get by in a negative way. They have a really sound team. But look, you get to the playoffs, you get to the big championship games. you're going to need to be able to lock that thing. I think Mike Bernard had 170 yards, 80 yards, I think, on the ground. So
Yeah,
he
he
wasn't
was running
slowing.
crazy.
Yeah, Cam Rising will end up graduating with 1 year already kind of a vote into the Hall of Fame for the NFL. He's going to be so old. Cody, thoughts on the Cody or Cam Rising just taking absolute trades? Good guy too, Cody.
For sure, yeah. So my son is probably going to stack Cam Rising with the way that he is. He's 9 years old, also with the way that he's racking up the red shirts. I mean, my goodness, him and that Miami tight end, boy oh boy. You know what? Milan might have a tackle for a loss on him and a sack on Rising the way this is going. But you know, Utah does Utah football. They do it very well. They have an established culture there, and I'm watching out for a possible playoff spot for Utah, and if they do, they definitely can knock off because they play sound defense. They're not flashy, and bring your lunch pail because it's going to be a hard day between the trenches with those boys.
I don't know if anybody watches this stupid ass show, but we are just, this is unbelievable. The first 7 minutes, what we've unfolded here. But look, to be honest, Utah has quietly just been consistent for the last couple of years now. It's Kyle Whittingham, I think, is the longest tenured coach in college football, with Nick Saban now gone. The guy's been there forever, but Utah is in a very interesting place where they are going to start really being the front of everyone's eyes, just given the fact that they're in Big 12. I think they'll dominate for the next couple of years. And then with this college football playoff, they're going to be a fun, sexy team to go to out west, especially for the Big 12. I think they're going to be able to lure a lot of people. UCF's another one, I think. They're obviously doing pretty well right now. We'll see what they're able to do with Gus Malzahn about down there as well. But yeah, Utah doing some big things. Speaking of being old and being on top of your head game, let's talk about Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money find any subscriptions you forgot about or any you paid for twice and didn't realize it? Can you name every single subscription you have? I know I can't name all of mine, and I'm not alone. I learned that over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. With Rocket Money, I don't have to remember every subscription or worry about forgetting any because I can see them all laid out right in front of me. If I had to guess, I bet Kyle Whittingham, just how organized he is, probably uses Rocket Money as well. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. For more bush lattes, right, Cody? Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. That's rocketmoney.com/hightopsports, rocketmoney.com/hightopsports. Now, I think that's a perfect segue from the old man segment to the segment. Let's talk about the rebound team. Again, another team that necessarily didn't lose last week, but needed this win to really bounce back from a previous loss that they had. Talk about the rebound team. So I'm devastated. I had the parlay of a century, had this thing locked in, and with USC, and Orgy clearly was the answer because Lincoln Riley does it again. He pisses me off once again. He lures me in just to curb stomp me. Michigan had 32 yards passing. 32 yards passing. USC should have steamrolled them. And I texted my buddy who was a USC fan. He goes, "No, Big Blue House is a hard place to play. You're already losing mindset. What are we doing here? I can't believe it. I'm absolutely stunned. I thought when we were talking about this game, I thought USC was going to go in there. Curb stomp Michigan looked like they were a thing of the past. Get absolutely leveled by Texas. I go, this Michigan team shouldn't be ranked. This is where I was last week. And now I don't know if both teams just suck. I don't know. I'm disgusted with it, though. I can tell you that on how USC handled their business. I want to like Lincoln, but he kills me. Yeah, he always finds a way to just screw it up. I know Derek is spewing in happiness right now with this big loss. These two guys the Big Ten just tearing each other apart. Derek, what were your thoughts on this big guy?
Well, my initial thought is USC is once again a fraud. You know, it's another team we do this every year with. Oh, no, I'm getting this off my. I'm enjoying this one. It's a team we do this with every single year with. They're another Notre Dame type team. But your problem, Sheldon, is you bought into a USC defense. Like, what are you thinking, trusting a Lincoln Riley-led defense? They lost to a team who had 32 passing yards. 32! You don't do that. And then we're talking about a top 15, top 17 matchup? Unreal. But Michigan did what we thought Michigan was going to do. They ran the ball over and over and over again, and USC couldn't do anything about it. It was one of those things where Michigan kind of lined up every time and they said, "I dare you to stop me," and they just couldn't do it. The USC offense, I thought, actually looked fairly good, considering what Michigan has on defense. I think, they were able to move the ball pretty consistently. I mean, obviously, there were some hiccups there, a couple turnovers, but overall, I didn't think the offense played bad. But USC, in my opinion, they're just not a great team. Well, let's call it what it is.
We had Jake Crane on Saturday, and he goes, "Look, this Michigan team did one thing wrong, and that was not go out and get a quarterback in the transfer portal. And look, they just went back to who they were. They got great O line, great trench work, run the football." And they literally come out and basically tell you by starting Orgy, all we're going to do is run the football because this kid can't throw. And that's what they did. Now, this concerns me that Michigan may rattle off some wins here, but they're going to have a hard time, again, going back to what we said about Utah. They're going to need a quarterback, right? That's what McCarthy was able to bring to them. When needed to throw, he could sling it down the football field. So I'm a believer back into Michigan. I'm an emotional wreck, boys, okay? I'm up and down. So just buckle up with me on this, on my takes, all right? This is how it's going to be, especially with these teams in the Big Ten. They're going to keep me on an emotional roller coaster. Cody, what were your thoughts, bud?
Well, Michigan plows over USC's defense like probably worse than the group of men plowed over my first ex-wife. I don't even know what they are doing. It is terrible. Golly. He told you what they were going to do. They said, we're going to play Michigan brand of football. We're going to put a running quarterback in, and you're going to have to stop us. And they didn't stop him. And again, Lincoln Riley is a fraud. He has more red flags than
your ex-wife.
than going out and marrying a Vegas stripper. Meeting her the first night. Golly, what do you guys need to see?
We're going to have daily HR meetings at this point. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what this is. There's no way that people are still watching. Cowboy Ty, thoughts?
Listen, Orgy had a menage a trois of running backs back there. They were doing whatever they wanted to USC. I don't know how you know a team is going to run the football and you still can't stop them. It was absolutely embarrassing to watch. Orgy threw for 38 yards. Will Johnson has a pick six. You can't let him score defensive touchdown when they can't score any other way but running the ball. So you give him six that way, and then Lincoln Riley just I don't know. That's got to be the biggest piss poor coaching I've ever seen. That's unbelievable. Donovan Edwards and Mullins were absolutely running them over.
Sorry, it's HR. We'll be in on Monday. Yes, sir. we'll be there.
Did they think my joke was funny?
They loved it. Yeah, they can't wait.
Okay.
They can't wait to bring
hear
it up
again.
Something tells me you're going to be able to tell it again.
Holy cow, this is unbelievable. All right, well, there's our rebound team of the week. Hopefully Cody getting a rebound after his ex-wife did that too. Anyways, moving on to You Like That. This one was a big build-up this game. Can't even finish my sentence. A big build-up all week long of what was going to happen. Oklahoma gets welcomed to the SEC. Josh Heupel playing up against his arch nemesis, I guess you can say. It was a good one. Now, I saw a tweet from Brandon Walker, and I tweeted our Oklahoma buddy, Jason. He wasn't a big fan of my tweet, or of the Brandon Walker tweet, talking about how basically Tennessee took off the gas a little bit and we just kind of petted Oklahoma and allowed them to feel like, hey, everything's going to be okay. And Oklahoma fans try to think like, we didn't lose that bad to this team that's put up 2,000 yards on offense. Listen here, Sweet Pea, okay? Tennessee picked you up like you were a toddler. And when you started kicking and screaming, put you back down so you could run around like you had control. And anytime that he felt that you were being a little rambunctious, he just picked you right back up again and put you into the crib, okay? At no point was Tennessee not in complete control of this game. They just lulled it to sleep. Let's just keep this thing in between the white lines. Nobody gets hurt. We can go home. Oklahoma thinks they're walking around like we made it through week one of the SEC. Their boys were getting leveled every which way. They got absolutely manhandled. I said this was going to happen. I didn't want it to happen because obviously being a Gator cheering for Tennessee does not feel good. But it was nice to see little bro that's had this huge head coming into this get absolutely walloped. I said they're going to go 7-5 this year. This was the first one I had them losing to. Oklahoma fans, don't get upset with me. I'm just telling you facts. Texas is your big brother. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the game, bub?
Yeah, once again, Tennessee dominated the whole football game. Jackson Arnold just could not get anything going. I watched Dylan Sampson just run through these guys. They were getting on the line quick. They were moving football. And like you said, there was at no point was this game ever in doubt. I think it was like 25-3, and they scored some late touchdowns, and like nothing really came of it. But Josh Heupel had that team ready, and I think he's going to have them ready the rest of the year. So Alabama better watch out in the next couple weeks.
Cody?
Yeah, for sure. Jackson Arnold, pack your shit. You're gone. Get the fuck out of town. I mean, my goodness, you got yanked, and the true freshman Hawkins. It looked like there was a little bit of spark for Oklahoma. I will say that. Defense, they did the best they could, but I think Heupel really throttled it back, being his alma mater. It looked like they ran the ball a lot, and they got very conservative after they got out ahead big. I will say this. I think their best way to win because of that bad offensive line is with Hawkins, and they got to figure it out. They got to figure out the run game. It's terrible. They got lots of stuff to figure out, and you know what? Welcome to the SEC. It means more.
Cody's just trolling these guys. Jackson Arnold bench was nuts. That was Jason's breakout player, and breakout of the game is what he did. Derek, what do you got for us, big guy?
Yeah, well, just watching that Oklahoma game, the one thing I kept thinking about, I was like, yo, can you imagine if Oklahoma had a quarterback, say, like, I don't know, Dylan Gabriel caliber? That would be absolutely insane. This offense might actually be clicking a little bit. They actually might be a top 15 team, not the scrape in the top 25 type of stuff. Oklahoma doesn't look good. They're absolutely cooked. You can put a fork in them. Their season's over. I'm sure they're really regretting the move to the SEC, going home and licking their wounds. But on the opposite side of the ball, I think it just shows that Tennessee's for real. Nico, we see the explosive nature that he can bring to the game. I think he's kind of as advertised, despite a couple turnovers. The wide receiver room was one that really stuck out to me with Brew McCoy and the Oregon transfer Dante Thornton. Those guys looked really, really good. And the one thing I would like to see Tennessee step up in is the run game a little bit. They had some big plays, but overall it seemed to be stagnant at points. But like Ty said, I think Tennessee's a real team, and I think Alabama, they got their hands full in a few weeks.
Yeah, look, Tennessee, they're the flash with offense and the hype behind Nico, but their defense is absolutely insane. They've got an edge rusher that is absolutely elite, and the defense is almost better than the offense. It just doesn't necessarily get enough flash and love because of the Nico and the high tempo offense that it provides. Why the face, Ty?
Because how does he get an Oregon thing into every damn thing we do?
I mean, they got blood everywhere. They're kind of just, they got their tentacles and everything. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, ducks flying everywhere.
That's goddamn right.
That's hey, what they said, Mighty Ducks.
Oklahoma, just so you guys think that you did anything, again, 222 yards of total offense. That's what you guys were working with. That's what I'm telling you. Tennessee absolutely just manhandled you with 35 minutes of time possession as well from Tennessee's side. So it was a doozy one. Boys, this show, of course, is brought to you by Prize Picks, and it is Monday. So for our Monday night special, here's what the boys and I cooked up, meaning me, James Cook, with a touchdown, Jamar Chase to have more than 81.5 yards. I think Joe Burrow gets it locked in, and then Cam Little, being a Jags fan, he's going to have more than 1.5 field goals because we can't score touchdowns in Jacksonville. So two field goals should be easy for those guys there. And look, Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Okay? As you can see, we got the lineup here for tonight. So if you guys want to trail us or fade us, hop in on that. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code Hightop and get $50 instantly when you play $5. It's code Hightop on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, boys, let's get into our last two segments. This team was peeled off. This team was, again, I talked about Nebraska, and I talked about Illinois the week before Nebraska and Syracuse, how they have a clear path to kind of sneakily get themselves in if they don't blow it. The following week, they both blow it almost simultaneously on the same night, almost back-to-back. Syracuse goes down in an absolute nail-biter. In Nebraska, we saw a freshman, Jalen Morello, finally look like a freshman. And same thing with Avery Johnson at Kansas State, which is something that I did bring up. Loved Kansas State. My concern was that quarterback play, even though he wasn't really the issue, this game, if you guys watched it, was lost in a matter of a minute and a half. Let's talk about it.
Lately you changed my life.
You've been peeled up. You've been peeled up. So I didn't change the thing Last of Napier here. I forgot to change the title there. This is obviously KSU's hasn't peeled off with against BYU. BYU just absolutely smothered them. But like I said, this game was lost in a minute and a half. The last minute of the second half was a fumble recovery, I believe, for a touchdown. Then they had a pick in their opposing territory and they scored another touchdown. So 14 points within a minute, then come out in the second half and score again. The game was all but over at that point. BYU could play their game where they just suffocate you and wear you out, and BYU could not be stopped at that point. All the energy and momentum was taken out. That BYU stadium was absolutely jumping. And BYU in the Big 12, this is Big 12 beat each other up this weekend. Obviously, they played each other. We keep talking about it being wide open. Kansas State was a legitimate threat to be up there. They still are. Taking this loss to BYU is tough, although BYU, I believe, will play Utah, which will be a battle of the Utah State, which should be a good one now, it looks like. So we'll see. But Derek, how did you feel about this game, man?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in shock, to be real honest. It was one of those games where it was under the radar, so I turned it on a little bit late. But Kansas State looked absolutely awful in all regards of the game. Obviously, offensively, Avery Johnson looked lost. He's a big playmaker and someone who Kansas State's going to rely very heavily on if they are going to be a team who's going to compete for a Big 12 title ultimately. But if he shows us anything like he did last night, that is absolutely not going to be the case. The one thing they did have going for him a little bit was the run game. I think they ran for 228 yards total, which is great. But ultimately, what ended up happening was that 3-minute period there where they gave up 21 points. You had to abandon the run game. They had to lean on the pass game, which was completely out of sync, had zero rhythm, and they couldn't get a stop on defense to save their ass. So yeah, I don't know. Good luck, Kansas State, the rest of the way. I don't know, man.
Ty?
Yeah, so like with a freshman, you're going to get inconsistency, but coming down to it, this is what I'm going to show honestly because this is what I know. So the most important part of a football game is the last 2 minutes and that drive coming out on the next. And the reason that is because you can gain so much momentum and you can make up so many points. If you have the ball, you can get points, and if you're getting the ball, then you can almost have a 14-point swing. But if you go 21 the other way, it takes you completely out of your game plan, and that's just never, ever going to work. And once again, it exposed Kansas State, and their youngness and their inconsistency really showed, and Avery Johnson really screwed up, honestly.
Cody?
Yeah, Avery Johnson's going to get a pair of fades. He got a fade on the field, and he's going to get a fade in the fill room because, golly, my goodness, you can't throw the amount of picks that you did. You gave the ball up. I mean, it threw them right to square defenders. They got pressure on you. Hey, taped out on the young kid. So it's for Kansas State to adjust to that and change some schemes up. But right now, the film's out. And defenses are spying them. They're getting them under pressure, and they are rattling the kid. And they know if they rattle him, it's over.
There's a lot of teams, a lot of young quarterbacks that have looked really good this year. Jalen Raiola being one, obviously KSU. And this is what you're going to run into, right? When you're able to rattle the kid a little bit to test that youth, this is kind of just the name of the game, right? Did we think that these young-led quarterback teams are going to run towards the top? No. Did we think they'd fall this soon? Yes and no, right? I don't know if you guys saw this too, which is this clearly is going to be a trend this year, and I hope Florida fans stay far, far away from this unless it works out in our favor. Maybe we should do this. Kansas State fan vowed to shove a beefy 5-layer burrito up his ass if they lost to BYU. This is obviously after the FSU debacle. There was a few more that kind of have came out since then. The FSU one's real though. That one has some legitimacy behind it with some actual you guys might be cursed. Could this be the curse of KSU? Again, it's mayhem with what's happening here and what these teams are promising. So I would love to see some real life teams get after it and see what happens. But
the best was BYU football Twitter, and they tweet out after the win, "Live Moss."
College football is still the creme de la creme. Let's get into the game of the week, and there were so many of them. This is honestly, I would say. Yeah, this is a waste of a topic, to be honest with you. You guys can just sign off. Game of the week. We honestly we had another one and I changed it at the last second. I wanted to be Michigan and USC, but then I felt like the other ones didn't apply to that game. The Baylor Colorado was a fantastic game. Hail Mary at the last second. The Vandy Mizzou game. I don't know if you can say it was good, but the fact that Vandy had an opportunity and then just bandied it at the end, missed the field goal in overtime. That was a nail biter. They should have won that one. Mizzou kicks a field goal to send it. I mean, that was a great game. And then, of course, we had Nebraska and Illinois also go to overtime. Both teams undefeated. So that's where we ended up coming down to that Friday night game. It wasn't even on Saturday. So, again, just a great slew of games this week. Illinois, I said it. I took them in our pick'ems to handle it because I felt like, look, they've got an opportunity to do something special here. Nebraska has looked good, but Raiola hadn't been pressured. He hadn't been tested yet. And I don't think the teams were focused on him enough. And the moment that he got tested, he didn't play. I wouldn't say he played poorly, just freshman, big lights, big moment, and got rattled a little bit. And Illinois was able to handle their business. Ty?
Yeah, I thought one of the bigger plays in that game was when they called that ball a touchdown in the end zone, and actually the corner ripped it away, and it was a INT. I felt like that changed a lot of momentum of that football game. But Dylan Raiola showed his inexperience in overtime. I mean, you can't take sacks, you can't have a 4th and 30, like you just can't do it. And I knew that game was going to be tough. I knew it was going to come down to the end, and the experienced Luke Altmaier showed that he had it, and they ran the ball, and Illinois beat them up front. And when you beat them up front, you have you have a young quarterback. He shows his inconsistency, and that's exactly what happened. And like I said, Nebraska is going to win a couple games they shouldn't, and they're going to lose some, or win a game they shouldn't, and lose a couple they shouldn't. And they lost probably one they shouldn't.
I feel like we're seeing a lot of Mahomanisms. And what I mean by that is these young quarterbacks, we're seeing a little bit too with Caleb Williams, is that they feel like they can go out there and be playmakers and utilize their feet, which is fantastic. I love that that's becoming part of the quarterback game. Guys rolling out, trying to extend the play. The reason why you also don't see it translating into the NFL as much, Caleb Williams, I believe, was going to be a bust. I know it's too soon, but the guy does not look good. Bryce Young gets benched. Andy Dalton looks fantastic. These guys that had success in college because they were able to move their feet, the speed's much faster in the NFL. And then when you're able to have a sound defense in college, right, that works in unison, you can also handle that quarterback that tries to extend the play a little bit too much versus just, hey, take the L, chuck it down, and move on. And that's what we saw with Avery Johnson too many times on Saturday as well, trying to extend the play when it was like, dude, this thing is dead. This thing was dead from the rip. Just let it go, live to see another day. Raiola as well, big time moment, overtime, tried to do too much, and it almost killed himself before the 4th down, right? The 3rd down takes that sack. It's pushed all the way back. It's like, throw that away. You're still within in shooting distance. This is overtime. There's no time on our clock. Like we got to play. Everything's 4-down territory here. And that's just where the game moved a little bit too quickly. Derek?
Yeah, I think, what we saw was one of those games that we're going to look back on at the end of the year and say, that was a growing pain for Dylan Raiola. These type of games are going to happen when you're starting a true freshman like that. And, the Big Ten is typically one of those conferences where those mid teams, that they tend to beat up on each other. And that's no knock against Illinois nor Nebraska, but they are both very sound teams. I was really impressed with both of them, to be really honest. I didn't think it was one of those games where, a team lost because they played like complete garbage the whole way. I thought Illinois' offense looked a lot better than I gave them credit for, to be completely honest.
Sure.
And their defense looked phenomenal at times too. Nebraska, we saw that against a solid defense, they're able to move the ball still, even with a true freshman quarterback who is making mistakes. So this is a game where it was super entertaining, but I'm not going to read too much into it moving forward, just because I think both of these teams are sound, and these are two teams that are going to get better. But I'm going to echo Ty too. I think, these are two teams who they're going to win games they should or shouldn't, and then they're going to lose games they shouldn't. And, it's like these are going to be two teams that are going to kind of have this pattern throughout the year. I can see both Nebraska and Illinois dropping a game where we kind of look at it and be like, you really found a way to lose that one. It's just, that's the nature of the beast in the Big Ten, and I think these two team programs fit the mold. But, it was one of the most entertaining games of the week for sure.
Cody?
Yeah, I love this game, man. It was a great game. I'm going to say this. Illinois skull drags them week 1 if it was versus Nebraska week 1. I think that they are Nebraska skull drags Illinois week 1 if it was week 1. But I think they got film on Raiola. They know what they want to do. Probably some of the best DB play I've ever seen between with the Illinois DBs. They played sound. They played the big pick in the end zone, and they rattled them. And I'm going to tell you, the blueprint is out on Dylan Raiola, and I think this is going to be a kind of a skid for Nebraska. I think Illinois showed you how to beat them.
Wow. I don't know. That's a bold take there. I mean, listen, I can't really critique you on takes, but mine might have been extremely cold over the last few weeks. Also, too, Nebraska, that was their 400th game sold out in a row. I mean, that
Unreal.
fan base is unbelievable. I mean, that place was jumping. So shout out to Illinois for handling it. Raiola, I love what I've seen thus far. I think he really handles this well. I think Matt Rule is a fantastic head coach. I think he brings these guys back together. I don't see a skid happening, but I do believe that there is some tape out there, and we may not see this cockiness and that swagger, not in a negative way. I think they'll get humbled a little bit and hopefully can find the rhythm and get back. I think they're going to be a team that upsets a lot of teams in the Big Ten, and it's going to be a headache to go through. But this Nebraska team, if you're a Nebraska fan, you got to be excited for where things are and where they are headed. It's a young team, and they're recruiting very well. They also just landed Raiola's little brother for 2026 at quarterback. So it's a family affair there at Nebraska. Yeah, it's good stuff. So, boys and girls, a great show. I have to go because I've got an announcement the next 30 minutes with HR about this past show. So thank you for Cody on that one. But hope you guys enjoyed this. Go ahead.
I get the blame on that.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was Derek. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's show of Monday Mashup with Derek the Duck, Cody the Professor, and Cowboy Ty representing FSU. Finally getting it done, boys and girls. Great.
Shout out to JMU 70, hanging 70 on North Carolina. I love that.
That should have been the game of the week.
The President's School. The President's School getting it done. Imagine getting whooped by a president. You got to love it. Fantastic week of college football, and we're heading into another one this week. I mean, there is so many great weeks of college football with the realignment of these conferences. I feel like we don't miss on good games anymore. Not that we never had any issues before, but they really seem to be primed and ready, especially leading up to the 12-team playoff. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, boys and girls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love, baby.
Later.